There's actually been quite a lot going on in Formula 1 in the past week. Lots of interesting news stories. I thought I would round them all up, put them into one video for your perusal. Starting with the breaking news that race director Niels Wittich is actually going to step down from his role effective immediately. It's been reported that he is stepping down to pursue new opportunities, except some places are reporting that he's not stepping down of his own volition. He, in fact, has been forced out. Wittich has been doing the role since 2022, when he was sharing the job with Eduardo Freitas. But he's now been operating solo since 2023. Rui Marques is going to take over the job as race director, having been a track marshal, a race scrutineer, international steward, deputy race director, as well as operating as a race director himself in the Formula 1 feeder series. Motorsport magazine, though, are reporting that Niels Wittich is not stepping down voluntarily. When they asked him about it, he specifically said, "I have not resigned." The timing is odd though, isn't it? In between two triple headers, with only 3 races to go until the end of the season, you'd assume that if it was his decision to pursue new opportunities, that he would have done that at the end of the season. I can't help but feel that Niels Wittich's resignation has something to do with Ben Sulayem. His actions recently have been called out publicly, most notably by the Grand Prix Drivers Association. You may have seen recently on Instagram that a statement was made by the directors and chairman of the GPDA on behalf of the Grand Prix drivers. In this statement, it referenced the swearing, which has been a big topic for Ben Sulayem, and the clampdown on it by F1 officials. The statement says, "There is a difference between swearing intended to insult others and more casual swearing, such as you might use to describe bad weather, or indeed an inanimate object such as a Formula 1 car or a driving situation. We urge the FIA president to also consider his own tone and language when talking to our member drivers, or indeed about them, whether in a public forum or otherwise. Further, our members are adults. They do not need to be given instructions via the media about matters as trivial as the wearing of jewellery and underpants." This is obviously a topic that was very much in the media some time ago now, when Ben Sulayem was questioning Lewis Hamilton and his wearing of jewellery. The statement also goes on to question exactly where the funds of these fines are going, and calls on transparency from the FIA president. It's just one more thing piling up for Ben Sulayem, whose handling of Formula 1 since he became FIA president, in my opinion, just hasn't been good enough. In other breaking news though, for the first time ever, Formula 1 is going to have a joint launch between all of the teams to start the 2025 season. This event, where teams are going to show off their new liveries for the upcoming season, is going to take place at the O2 Arena in the UK on February the 18th. And if you're interested, tickets go on sale this Friday. They seem to be ranging from about £53 all the way up to £113, depending on what seats are available. Now, I suspect the teams might want to have their own car launches as well. So it's likely that some of these teams, or maybe all of the teams, will have their own separate events, you know, for sponsors and that sort of thing. And I'm not convinced we're going to be seeing the new cars. I get the feeling it'll probably just be show cars with new liveries, but it's hard to say at this point. Maybe some of the teams will be bringing their up-to-date cars. It's going to be cool to see all the liveries shown off at the same time in one big event, so I'm kind of excited to see what they do with it. I'm looking forward to it. In other big news, Dan Fallows will no longer be Aston Martin's technical director. Now, this is a pretty big piece of news. He joined the team in 2022 after working alongside Adrian Newey at Red Bull. And while Aston Martin had a good start to the 2023 season, it's safe to say progress has been poor since then, and they've kind of gone backwards. While Fallows can't take sole responsibility for the entire car performance, he clearly shoulders the responsibility as technical director. And it's no coincidence that him stepping back from that role coincides with Adrian Newey joining the team and former Mercedes engine man, let's call him Andy Cowell, taking the reins as chief executive officer. They're obviously doing some reshaping there, and Dan Fallows is going to remain at Aston Martin, but not on the technical side of things. Then moving on to Audi, or for now, Sauber. They made a big announcement a few days ago announcing that Gabriel Bortoleto is going to be joining the team alongside the already announced Nico Hülkenberg for 2025. That obviously means that neither Valtteri Bottas or Guan Yu Zhou will be on the grid next year. Now, I'm sad for Bottas because, you know, I really like him and I feel like he's come into his own since he's joined Sauber. He's got a real interesting personality that maybe we didn't see at Mercedes, but it seems like he might be on his way to Mercedes as a reserve driver. When it comes to Zhou Guan Yu, though, you have to say that his performances have been subpar all season, often at the back of the grid, race pace just not very good at all. His departure is no surprise to me. Bortoleto on the other side is the current Formula 2 championship leader with a couple of wins under his belt this season as well. So Sauber are definitely going to be getting an up-and-coming driver for the next season. As we know, in 2026 though, Sauber become Audi. But before Audi have even hit the grid, they are looking to sell a stake in the team to Qatar. The scale of this investment is being reported differently depending on the news outlets that you listen to. Some are reporting a minor investment, others are reporting a major majority stake investment. Volkswagen, who own Audi, they're in a little bit of trouble recently. They're in talks currently to potentially close 3 plants in Germany, and that's at risking about 30,000 jobs. So while Audi believe it's the right time for them to join Formula 1, it's also hard for the Volkswagen Group to justify the expense given their economic situation. Qatar own Qatar Airways, and that is a major sponsor in Formula 1. And Qatar already invested in the Volkswagen Group. I think they have about a 17% stake. So Qatar investing in the Audi team would make a lot of sense. If that takeover were to happen, it would be logical for it to be announced at the Qatar Grand Prix, or at least before it. That's the Grand Prix in between Abu Dhabi and Las Vegas. In other news, Stefano Domenicali has been saying that it's very likely Formula 1 will move to a rotational system with the European races sooner rather than later. The thought process is that some of the European races would host on a rotational basis rather than it being yearly. As an example, we would have maybe a race at Spa one year, but then Spa would be replaced, let's say, by Portimao for the following year. Then it would go back to Spa, maybe back to Portimao, that sort of thing. That's just a pure example from myself, though. It's fair to say there are a lot of quality circuits that want to be on the Formula 1 calendar, but there really just is not enough space. Rotating them out seems like a reasonably logical idea, but some quality circuits would miss out on big yearly revenue, so it might not be sustainable to a lot of circuits. Oh, and KitKat have just signed a massive sponsorship agreement with Formula 1 to be the official chocolate bar of Formula 1. Now, why am I mentioning this, you might say? Well, KitKat happens to be a very big sponsor of Sergio Perez. There is a very good chance that if KitKat are spending a lot of money on Formula 1, it all but guarantees to me that he will be in the sport next year with Red Bull. And on that bombshell, I'll see you next time.